The New Level Cap podcast is a show about fun, friends, game design, and all things otherwise. Your hosts are Marco DeSantos and Brad Telton of Level 99 Games. I'm Chris Solis, your producer, and without further ado, please enjoy the show.
Greetings, World of Indians and fans of Level 99 Games. With you today is me, your host, Marco DeSantos, and my friends. Come on.
Okay, me, D, also known as Steerinkin, or Daniel Zeiger for short.
Hey, you got it. Alright, we are having a mailbag episode where we are answering questions from our readers, viewers, listeners, watchers, etc.
Yeah, so if you saw any of our social medias, our Twitter, our Facebook, or you were on our Discord, we linked a form for you to submit some questions. So this episode was supposed to be about me and Chris talking about some Exceed stuff, but what happened was some things, technical issues happened, and Chris is not available today. However, I did get somebody just equally as awesome, and it's Daniel himself, Exceed World Champ and General Cool Boy.
And I'm flattered to be here.
Are you flattered to be a General Cool Boy, though?
I grudgingly accept this.
Alright, have you ever considered that there are specific cool boys?
No, I actually am not familiar with the classification and genres of cool boys.
Unfortunately, but you know what you are familiar with? Exceed, and that's why you're here. So you're here to be able to answer some questions about Exceed, specifically about Exceed Shovel Knight, since there were a lot of Shovel Knight questions, especially because we just recently uploaded that Tinker Knight versus Treasure Knight video, which was a fun game, by the way. Good game. Yeah, good game. So let's start off with question number 1 from Sinfulness. Ooh, what a spicy name. Mm-hmm. Are we getting 3 promo cards for this season or during the Shovel Knight season? So this is kind of like a two-pronged question, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure if Sinfulness is asking about whether we're getting promo characters or whether we're getting promo cards for organized play.
So, Daniel, in true Level 99 Games fashion, we over-deliver. We just answer both of those.
Oh, right? Seems good.
All right, so how about organized play, Daniel? Are we getting 3 promo characters from this season or Shovel Knight season?
This season's organized play promos, I believe, have already been previewed on the website. Am I right about that? Or are we still working on the previews?
The answer is essentially they're going to be 7th Cross chibis, I believe. At least that's what I currently know as the person doing organized play.
Oh, so, well, why are you asking me? You should be answering this.
Well, because I wanted this to be an interactive episode.
All right.
Okay. How about this one? I know the answer to this. How about promo characters?
As far as I know, none have been announced for this upcoming season.
Yep, none have been announced for this upcoming season. So let's just be very clear. We haven't announced any promo characters for the Shovel Knight season, and that's pretty much it. Though if you're expecting it to be of previous season characters like Red Horizon or Street Fighter, I'm not quite sure. I mean, it's not a no, but it's definitely not a yes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I haven't heard anything about it.
Yeah, neither have I. Well, we might be lying about that.
But if so, you can't prove it.
Yeah, if so, you can't prove it. You have nothing on me. What's that called? The weight of the burden of proof. There you go. The burden of proof is on you, not us. Daniel, next question. And I think you're the expert for this question. Exactly why you're here.
Oh no.
So we recently released a video of Plague Knight versus Shovel and Shield Knight, and somebody asks, how do I beat Plague Knight? He seemed pretty strong in the video you showed.
Okay, well, he's literally unbeatable. If you just sit back and give him time, he will crush you and everything you hold dear. That is, of course, a lie.
So you're telling me that the counterplay is to concede?
Yes, you should concede immediately, especially if you're fighting my Plague Knight. That's the only chance you have.
I see. To save time and save face.
Yeah, exactly. Because obviously there's no way that you'll beat him. Okay, so the actual answer to this question is...
Okay, so that was a lie.
How dare that was completely a lie. Absolutely.
How dare you lie?
That's
Just kidding. So what's the real answer? How do we actually beat Plague Knight?
Okay, the way you beat Plague Knight essentially is you get in his face and you punch him a lot. Plague Knight is most threatening at range when he can staple movement onto his attacks to give him greater effective range and greater effective speed than a normal Exceed character. Which means
because he can put dives before text, for example, on his grasp, giving him essentially a range 4 7 speed attack, which is absurd.
Exactly. And if you stand at range 1, most of his threats just turn off. You'll want to be watching out for him to use a slow defensive move in melee, and discarding dive to get out of melee with something like a sweep, a spike, or even a castle crasher. But apart from that, most of his melee options you can counter by just playing Grasp. But yeah, get in his face, punch him. He hates being in melee. He's going to be spending all of his effort getting out of melee if you get into melee with him. And he doesn't actually have a lot of power, except for on very specific big payout turns, which are much easier for him to do at range than in melee. The other thing is that when he does those huge payouts, keep an eye on what threats he has live. If he doesn't have Spike or Castle Crasher, that means he doesn't have Ignore Armor, which means you can block and just ignore his payout completely, because he's always going to spend more resources than you on every strike.
Yeah, that's a big thing that you have to understand when playing against Plague Knight, is that usually his card conversion is 1 card for 1 power, sometimes 2 cards for 1 power, and blocking is 1 card for 2 armor, so you instantly, he 3-for-1s himself, essentially, every time he does a payout and you block it. So, one big thing to beat Plague Knight is just, he runs out of cards real fast, and if you block 2 of his big payouts, I don't think there's a chance that Plague Knight will win super easily that game anymore.
Right, he has to start playing normals and relying on, playing quote-unquote Exceed as opposed to doing Plague Knight things. And he's gonna be pretty bad while he's trying to do that.
Yeah, he's not really good at normal Exceed. He doesn't have the boosts, economy, or the specials to be able to sustain that.
Exactly, he needs to use his jank to its fullest potential. Yeah,
so basically, as Plague Knight, just watch out for the giant explosions. Basically, if you walk into a giant Plague Knight bomb explosion, I mean, that's just, you're gonna lose because you played into his game, right? So don't play into it. Try to avoid it and try to block it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's a good answer. Here's number 3. I think you should ask me this one because I don't. Yeah.
Well, all right then. So Viddy asks, how did you decide that Shield Knight wouldn't get her own deck?
This is a very interesting question because it kind of assumes that we just decide, we just went, yeah, Shield Knight shouldn't be a character. You know what I mean? That's really not what happened. So it's kind of it's like a dual purpose thing. So the first thing is that we need Shovel Knight to be in the set because the game is literally called Shovel Knight, right? But we already released a Shovel Knight promo. So it would be very hard to create a second Shovel Knight that is just also Shovel Knight, so it's really hard to distinguish between the 2 different versions of Shovel Knight. And of course, we couldn't just reprint old Shovel Knight, right? Because he wouldn't have any of the cool upgrades that any of the other characters in the box have. Mm-hmm. So we needed to create a version of Shovel Knight that was distinctly different. And number 2, I feel like a big thing about Shovel Knight and Shield Knight is that they're partners. Right? A big thing about the entire story of Shovel Knight is that it's about how these 2 characters are essentially always better when they're together. Mm-hmm. So I feel like having Shovel Knight and Shield Knight be a tag team fighter is absolutely correct. If you've read any of our blogs, you will also see that the key design idea behind them is partnership. I feel like one of the problems here is that people are like, okay, so why is Shield Knight just a marker, quote unquote, just a marker? Among all of the marker characters, Shovel and Shield Knight are the most even in terms of how distributed their power levels are. So, for example, what's Bear and Miska like from Season 1?
Miska sits back at range and makes Bear do all the work.
Yeah, so really the big thing here is that Bear is a support to Miska. Bear tanks for Miska is essentially what's happening, mm-hmm. right?
Right.
How about Sydney and Serena? How do they work? The marker character from Season 2.
Sydney runs around, also again playing normals and trying to get away from the opponent and zoning, while Serena sits in the middle of the board and just throws out attacks with very specific ranges, kind of like a boss character.
Okay, so really the answer here is that Sydney is supporting Serena,
yes.
right? Yeah, because literally Serena's a giant plant monster and Sydney's a gardener, so makes sense.
Right, and then Serena becomes the actual character.
Yeah, then Serena exceeds and then she eats Sydney.
Yep.
Okay, how do Shovel Knight and Shield Knight work?
They are both threatening options at all times. Like, when they are standing in the same space, then Shovel Knight's attacks become more threatening, but Shield Knight still has mix-up options. And when Shield Knight is near you, Shield Knight is threatening the primary options, and Shovel Knight provides the mix-up threat.
So, in reality, it's as if they're 2 characters in one deck, right? You are essentially fighting against 2 people as one deck, which is a design space for a marker character that we haven't really explored before, because all other marker characters have been marker supports character or character supports marker, right? Mm-hmm. So this is a cool way that we were able to integrate that design, which again talks all about the partnership between Shovel and Shield Knight. Okay, that was a good question. How about this last one? This is a doozy, Daniel. as someone who's never played Shovel Knight, the video game, what would you say is the draw of the set? I can tell you and other fans of the IP are incredibly excited, but I'm not sure if it's for me. Would you say the mechanics are unique enough without any context? For someone who has only played something like Street Fighter Exceed, I'll probably get it anyways, but I want to feel good about my purchase.
Okay, well, the draw of the set is cards, because you draw cards. Oh, sorry, that's not what they're asking.
Sorry, I want to point out, it's that was from Rem, or Siphony. There you go.
Okay,
sorry, that was a question asked by Rem or Siphony. Thank you.
Duly credited. All right, so my actual answer here is, if you have played Street Fighter and you're familiar with it and you like Exceed, Shovel Knight is a step up in complexity, but much less of a step up than the 7th Cross set, which is also the older set now. So Shovel Knight. So essentially in Street Fighter, every character is playing Street Fighter. Every character is playing the core game of Exceed in a fairly direct way, where they all have
which is to fight at ranges. My attack interacts with your attack. Something happens. My unique ability makes my attacks interact a bit differently, but we're still doing that fundamental attack interaction thing. Right? Exactly.
And in the Shovel Knight set, characters are much more designed to feel like a unique character, like a unique play experience, where they're doing something that is that really distinguishes them from the rest of the cast. So. Let's see, who have we previewed so far? So Plague Knight, he alchemizes his attacks, he throws cards together to create explosive new, attack pairs or attack triplets with all kinds of unique effects. So the experience of playing Plague Knight is not just, I'm playing Exceed with a character who does Exceed a little bit different in this way. It is, I'm playing a character who does something unique that nobody else offers me.
I mean, Tinker Knight literally turns into a 3-space wide boss monster, right? Mm-hmm. So... I think this design direction really came from the fact that a large majority of these characters are literally video game bosses with their own literal gimmicks for their boss fight. So I think that translated a lot into having each character have a very distinct identity in the way you have to fight them or the way that they fight you, right? Because even characters like, let's see, Treasure Knight, who is like just... vanilla tanky dude, even he's a bit different, right? Because he's not a tanky dude who wants to keep attacking you. He's actually a tanky dude who sits there and waits for you to attack him. And if you mess up, he'll tornado you using his Maelstrom chest, right? Or something like that. So, it's a very interesting playstyle. And yeah, you said it right. It's all about unique, like, you feel like you're very, very much stepping up from the Street Fighter. Not to say that the Street Fighter set is not deep and complex in its own way. It's just that the characters in Shovel Knight tend to do things that don't look like traditional Exceed, but to a degree that is less egregious than Season 2. Not to say that Season 2 is bad, right? 7th Cross characters tend to do stuff that are increasingly just don't look like regular Exceed. So if you don't want to step up that much, Shovel Knight is a good intermediary thing between the two of them. So the mechanics are very good. 4 specials are also introduced in this season, and it gives you a little bit more of like wiggle room with how strong your cards can be. So you can have really powerful cards that would be broken in any other season, but because there's 4 specials in Exceed Shovel Knight, you get to use these powerful cards, and they're not necessarily fundamentally broken. So... Fun times. Daniel, I'd love to keep answering more questions with you, but we gotta take a short break so that we can listen to some news from Level 99 Games. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Alright. Daniel, take us to a break.
What? How? What do I do?
That was it.
Are you looking for a new creative game to add to your collection? What about one with a built-in storage solution? If so, Millennium Blades is the game for you. With the addition of the latest expansion, Millennium Blades Collusion, not only is the box storage for the entire series, there are even more entertaining characters, venues, and sets. Rack up friendship points, open packs of cards, trade with friends, and discover game-breaking strategies. You'll need to buy boosters and trade cards with your friends to build up your deck to win the in-game tournaments. This will not be sold in stores, so get your late pledges in at level99games.com.
Brrr. Daniel, I'm freezing.
Well, move off of the ice spike, Marco.
Oh, okay, that really helped.
Yeah,
that was a really cold open.
It was.
Welcome back from the break, everyone. Freezing aside and Polar Night aside, I keep forgetting. I keep mixing up Propeller Night and Polar Night. They're phonetically similar in my mind. But regardless, Ice Spikes aside, we're back. We're answering some of your hard-pressed questions. And Daniel, I think this next question should be asked by you because I want to give the first response.
Very well. Well then, Marco. What is the design process for a new Exceed character? How are boosts determined and character abilities designed for characters' identities and movesets? For example, it is relatively easy to come up with a grab bag of special moves, but how is it determined that Sagat would be a face-up strike character, or that Treasure Knight would have boosts that let him recur cards, and so on? When these are embellishments on an existing property's identity as opposed to, for example, a Hadouken, which is a well-established thing.
Yeah, okay. So also, quick thing, that question was asked by Rufus. Thanks, Rufus. Yeah, sorry about that. I keep forgetting to mention the people who ask these questions. It's very important that we give credit where credit is due. So the answer to this is very interesting. So I highly recommend that you all look at our Character of the Week blogs on our official website, because that kind of gives you a glimpse into what we're doing. So there's a thing in those character design blogs that Brad calls the key design idea of a character. And when you're creating and designing a character for Exceed, or any game really, it's very important to understand that the philosophy for level 99 games is very experience-based, right? What do we want the character to feel like? What do we want the player who's playing that character to feel or experience when using that character? So let's look at some of your examples here. Daniel, Sagat. What was Sagat's key design idea?
Superiority.
Right. So superiority, what does that make? The player playing Sagat should feel like they're superior to their opponent. And what way can you do that? For example, what if your attack is so good that even if your opponent knows exactly what you're playing, they can't do anything about it?
That's perfect.
Superiority. Right? Because again, it's superiority, right? You're showing off that, hey, I am so powerful and much stronger than you that even if I telegraph my entire attack, you're gonna still lose.
Yep, that nails the theme.
All right, so I'll do one and you can answer it, right? So the other example here would be Treasure Knight, right? So what Treasure Knight's key design idea is efficiency. So how does that play into the way Treasure Knight plays, Daniel?
So Treasure Knight wants to squeeze the most value you can out of every card that he plays. And if he can get a disproportionate amount of value out of any particular card, he wants a way to get that card back to use it again. So you find the things that are most important and most efficient to use in your matchup, and then you play them multiple times so that you can get every scrap of value out of those cards that you can.
Yeah, that's true. How many times can you play block in a game?
I believe the answer is... it is 16 if you are using the boost on Treasure Coin.
Wow, that's a lot of blocks, Daniel. And let's make it very clear, each of those blocks is actually a block plus because you get to generate free force whenever you're hit, right? Rather, when you're hit, you get to generate a free force because it's during a strike, right?
Right, whether or not you're on front side or flip side, you'll have access to an extra force every single time.
Yeah, so that means your blocks are quote-unquote naturally for armor. So just imagine having to face down 12 blocks constantly. So why does he get to recur? Because, again, it's about squeezing value and being efficient with your cards, right? Block is an efficient card because the rate is 2 armor for 1 force. That's amazing. So let's do that again. And again. And again. So I feel like this is a big thing about Exceed design that we have to understand. Because even when we're talking about somebody as vanilla as Ryu, right? Like we say, oh, Ryu just has, by default, the Hadouken, the Shoryuken, and everything. But how does everything else factor into the kit? Why does Donkey Kick exist? Why does 1-inch Punch exist? Why does Ryu's, what's the name of his Shoryuken Ultra?
Metsu Shoryuken, and the boost on it is, I believe, Lightning Reflexes.
Yeah, so Lightning Reflexes allows you to move 2, then strike, right? So... Why does Ryu gain access to all of these auxiliary things that aren't just the typical Tatsu, DP, Hadouken, right? Because again, it all fits into Ryu's core theme of, I believe his thing is setup and response, right? So Ryu's entire thing is about being able to set up where he wants to be and being able to respond to nearly anything the opponent tries to do. And that's why he has lightning reflexes, because Ryu gets to set up to his Hadouken range or goes into his Shoryuken range, right? That's why Ryu has a lot of attacks that are good on defense, because he wants to be able to respond to anything the opponent does. Even Hadoukens are really good in response to what the opponent does, because they're above curve at their range. So all of these things kind of work to that key design idea. So if you're making your own character, Daniel, what should you do first?
Establish your key design idea, or as I like to call it, the character's fantasy.
Yeah, the fantasy is for sure. Or, as I said earlier, the experience you want to give the player playing the character, right? I feel like a big misstep when people are creating their own characters is that they tend to hyper-focus on, this character exists, and character does A, B, C, D, therefore my kit should have things that let you A, B, C, D. But really, they lose sight of the core thing, right? Like, if we get a character in Exceed, for example, like, I don't know, like Sagat, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the entire point of Sagat was just to play low tiger shots forever, because that's what Sagat does, that's significantly different from what Sagat's experience is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, sure, what you're doing is playing lots of low tiger shots, but what you're actually experiencing is that my low tiger shots are so unbeatable you can't do anything about them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's that feeling of superiority that makes Sagat fun to play. It's not playing low tiger shots. Right.
It's a difference between a superficial simulating of what the character does versus replicating the experience of playing the character.
Exactly, because that's the important part, right? You have to feel like you're playing the character, and simply having a bunch of attacks that say this is the thing that the character does is not gonna be good enough. It's often not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's the answer to that. Hopefully we answered your question, Rufus. Next up is which character in Shovel Knight Exceed do you have the most fun playing against? And that was from Jeremy. Thanks for the question, Jeremy. Daniel, how about you? Who do you like fighting?
Who I like fighting against?
Against. See, usually these questions are as, right? That's why I thought this question was really interesting, because who's fun to fight against?
Yeah. I think I would actually say Mole Knight.
Mole Knight. Interesting.
Yeah.
Why?
So Mole Knight is essentially a character about setup and mix-ups, where he wants to do range-based mix-ups, but using his burrow. That much has been made pretty clear with the previews of the character's ability. So I'm a huge fan of mix-ups, and I enjoy specifically the act of reading my opponent. So trying to figure out what Mole Knight is setting up so that then I can position myself to play against it makes it a very satisfying experience to play against a Mole Knight. Even though if I get it wrong, it means I get annihilated.
Annihilated? You mean like take 11 damage?
Yeah,
or something?
8 to 11 damage.
It's wild.
But if I get it right, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool, right? I really like the play pattern that you do against Mole Knight, where sometimes it's a dance, right? Like, Mole Knight, what's his burrow here? And you're like, uh-oh, what's he doing? You're like absolutely terrified at what he's about to do. So yeah, that's true. Actually, Mole Knight was my second pick for this question. If I had a second pick, I would pick Mole Knight.
Well, what's your first pick?
Oh, indeedy. My first pick is a very interesting thing, but it's going to be really weird because my answer is going to be really weird. I really, really like playing against. Drum roll, please, Daniel. Just pretend.
No, I have a desk. I'm doing it.
Oh, hell yeah. All right. So my answer to this question is actually King Knight.
Huh. But Marco,
as weird as that,
isn't that a character you like playing as?
Yeah, so that's a weird thing. So one of the characters that I like, that my main for the season, is actually a character I like playing against. So why? Why do I like this way? I often, in games, when I'm playing a main character, I often like playing the other side of the matchup because it's fun to see the things that I do used against me. And it's fun to figure out how I can play around them. And the big thing about King Knight is that his entire gameplay thing is that he creates situations that are hard to beat, right? So, like, you know, King Knight's entire gimmick, as we've seen, is that he has decrees that are essentially giant boosts that are super, super good, to the point that sometimes they make his attacks go from pretty good to untenably broken, right? So a big thing about King Knight is that he creates unbeatable attacks. But because I've played enough King Knight, I know they're not unbeatable. So finding the way to beat them is just as fun as creating the unbeatable attack to begin with. So that's part of the reason why I really love playing against King Knight, is because I'm able to exercise my knowledge of King Knight in a different way. And besides, I really love fighting against boost characters because it always blows people's minds when they do a giant boost and my first response is to just strike them. Because they're like, why are you striking? You're at a disadvantage. I'm like, I know. Yeah, I mean, as a boost player yourself, right? You know that sometimes that's what you have to do to win against the boost character.
Absolutely. They only have more of an advantage if they're the ones who initiate.
Yeah, and this is a big deal that let's slightly segue into people don't be afraid to strike at the characters who've just boosted light or whatever, because oftentimes if they boosted light, they know for a fact that they're able to boost better than you are, and their attacks are probably going to be better than yours are. So if they boost light rather than boosting light, consider just striking with your own sweep instead.
Yeah, sweep or assault if you're at range, or cross if you really have to.
Yeah, I mean, or wild swing even.
Or wild swing.
Because again, if a character initiates a boost in that manner, 9 times out of 10, it's because the player playing them knows that their character can do it significantly better than yours. And if you play their game, you're gonna lose. So I guess I secretly gave out the tech to beat King Knight. Don't pass the turn to King Knight while he has a decree up. It is the wrong move. Do not ever do it. It is the wrong move. Okay, last question. Daniel, ask me this one.
Oh, yep.
It's actually, yeah.
So, an anonymous question here is, when is Shovel Knight officially going to release?
Do we have the liberty to be able to answer this question?
Why are you asking me?
I don't know. Do you know?
I know what's been said publicly so far.
So what has been publicly said so far?
Fourth quarter 2019.
Yep. So the real answer here is that I personally know the exact release date. But sorry, it's not within my power to be able to tell all of you, our fans. I would love to, but my hands are tied. So for now, the only answer I can give you is that you should be expecting your copies of Shovel Knight to be shipping within the fourth quarter. So within the next month or two. And you know what? That's not a long time to wait. Certain other games have been waiting longer than that. So don't worry, Shovel Knight Exceed is going to be in your hands very soon. It's a very good game. I'm really excited for it. And you know what? 1 month's going to pass by. And while you're waiting on those months, if you want to get your fix of Shovel Knight, Daniel, where should they be looking if they want to know more about Shovel Knight?
They should be reading the blogs on our website.
Oh, absolutely true. Every week we post a blog or a gameplay video. So again, the pattern is blog, gameplay video of the 2 characters we featured in the previous 2 blogs. So we just recently released the Tinker Knight, then the Treasure Knight blogs, then did Treasure Knight versus Tinker Knight gameplay video. For this week, I'm going to spoil who it is. It's going to be a Mole Knight blog. So if you want to learn more about Daniel's favorite character to fight against, we're going to do a Mole Knight thing. It's going to be very fun, and I'm very excited to show it off. Did we already play that game?
Yeah, actually.
Okay, so spoil it a little bit. Was it fun?
Yeah, it was a blast.
It's always fun whenever you and I play. So Daniel, I would love to keep asking more questions, but it seems like we're out of time for this week. Hopefully we get to answer the other questions when Chris comes back onto the show. But for now, I'd like to thank all of you, our dear listeners, for listening in on the show and sending us your questions. We loved seeing all of these questions and loved seeing people interested in Shovel Knight Exceed or Exceed Shovel Knight or Shovel Exceed Knight.
One of those.
One of those is correct, right? So regardless, thank you so much for listening. If you like this episode of the Level Cap Podcast, please share it with a friend. And if you hated it, share it with an enemy. As usual, it has been me, your host, Marco DeSantos, also known as Mechanic Critic, or Marco DeSantos for short. With me has been my amazing co-host and Exceed World Champ,
D, aka Daniel Zeiger, or Tierenkin for short.
Wow, the mix-up. I wasn't expecting that one. All right. So without much else to say, don't forget to change cards, and thank you, World of Shovel Knight. Thank you, and good night, Knights.
Happy gaming.
The new Level Cap Podcast is produced by Level 99 Games. Join us next Wednesday for more design talk and shenanigans. Thank you for listening.